Well, this morning, there are still a lot of questions about a wave of calls reporting shootings happening in schools across Colorado. Schools went on lockdown right away. The FBI later found those threats were not credible. The calls seem to have come in a very specific order, arriving at schools around the state alphabetically. They started in Alamosa at 8:24 yesterday morning, then Boulder, then Canyon City, and more throughout the day. In total, 17 schools were put on lockdown. Police departments all described getting similar calls. They all say the caller sounded like a man who said he was going into a school, and it sounded like there were gunshots in the background. At this time, they still don't know if these calls are connected or who was behind them. This is some footage from the scene out there yesterday in Boulder. So no one was hurt, but yesterday left a lot of people rattled, understandably. 15,000 students go to schools that were targeted, and 9 News reporter Brianna Fernandez joins us now. Brianna, even though these threats were unfounded, that fear, like we've mentioned, very real for a lot of people.
Exactly. Imagine the fear inside of those schools and those classrooms of those students who were inside and those teachers just waiting to see if these threats were real. And then those parents waiting to hear from their kids it was real and it was terrifying. So we know law enforcement agencies take these threats seriously and they have to respond to each threat as if it was real. So these hoax calls tie up resources that could be used somewhere else. They put dozens of schools on lockdown or secure status and clear these campuses one by one. A scary situation, even if the threat turned out to be fake.
Personally, I was really scared. I know everyone around me was scared. Texting my parents, just saying like that I love them and all that, like not knowing really what was going to happen.
So all schools will operate as normal today, so students and teachers will be returning to class. Hopefully knowing these threats were unfounded across the state will ease some of their anxiety. Corey?
Such a scary situation, you know, for students, for faculty, for teachers, for parents, you know, I mean, and the information that comes in very slowly. And so it's such a waiting game. It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brianna, given the history of what's happened here in Colorado, you understand why so many people jumped into action immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the last hour we heard from a teacher who says she's scared to go to school, and there is about 67% of them are either worried or somewhat worried about just teaching. And just imagine going every day to school and those students not knowing if they'll go back to their parents. So a very scary situation for everyone.
And even hearing some of the students say that they just hope their classmates were okay in that situation breaks your heart hearing that.
Brianna, thank you. It was a scary day for so many families. Mental health impacts can be very real, even if the threat isn't. If you're having a hard time with this, there are some numbers on your screen right now. Colorado Crisis Services has a 24/7 hotline with people available to talk to you. You can also text the word TALK to 38255, or you can call the National Crisis Hotline at 988. Again, we still don't know if these calls are connected, but now the FBI is working to track down who was behind them.
Yeah, they're working with local law enforcement agencies at this time. A former FBI analyst tells us right now they are likely looking at things like whether there was caller ID and whether the caller used something to mask their real voice. She says right now nothing is off the table, but there are some signs that these were random calls and not targeted attacks.
They hit alphabetical schools across a very large area. So that would tell me that the likelihood of an imminent physical threat to the schools is a little bit less than when the initial call came in. It would tell me that it's possible that this is someone who's just trying to create chaos as opposed to target one particular place.
Jennifer Dobler adds that it's possible the suspect could be anywhere in the world and is not necessarily from the U.S. Either way, it could take several months to find the person responsible for all of this chaos. If they are outside of the country, though, it just makes things a lot more complicated.
This has not been isolated to Colorado. Yesterday, several schools in southern Idaho were also evacuated or on lockdown over false threats. There have also been similar hoax calls in Oregon, California, New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada in the past week. We don't know if any or all of these incidents are connected to each other. We're going to be following this story very closely as we learn new information. You can always stay up to date on the 9 News app or 9 News Plus.
The Cherry Creek School District is building a new option for students who are going through mental health crises. Right now, there are only 16 facilities for more than 540,000 school-age students in the metro area, and leaders in Cherry Creek say that is just not enough. So the new Traverse Academy will be a place where kids can receive both treatment and continuous school. This one is set to open in the fall, but even Cherry Creek says people should be asking questions about a district helping run a behavioral health facility just like this.
10 years ago, I would have said that school districts had no place in getting involved with therapeutical, clinical levels of mental health day treatment. I think that's changed. I think the crisis has gotten so severe that it's going to take all of us.
And it's not just the district involved. Children's Hospital and CU will be providing the clinicians there. Voters approved a bond to pay for the $15.5 million facility.